The vacant lightweight title is on the line as Islam Makhachev takes on Charles Oliveira. See who fighters are picking in the latest edition of MMA Pros Pick.
Ah, man. That's even harder to pick, you know. I would have to say Makhachev would have to be, if I was a betting man, Makhachev, just because of the fact that Oliveira can be taken down because he has such faith in his jiu-jitsu game, especially defensive jiu-jitsu, playing off his back. And he's so good at straight line attacks defensively, like his knees and his elbows and his strikes, that stops people from getting in. And then when they get in, it's not in the best situation for them getting in because it's either reckless or rushed or forced. He creates those dynamics. But Makhachev's wrestling and grappling is obviously top tier. You look at his team and look at the work he's put in for that. I would have to say if I had to make a bet, I would put it on Makhachev just because we've seen Oliveira get taken down before because of his faith in his grappling and his jiu-jitsu, defensive jiu-jitsu. So, but it's 5 rounds. It's a long time. There's a lot of variables in play. It's definitely not a sure thing. It is as hard a fight to pick as the last one, if not harder. So, yeah, I guess that's the only thing.
Yeah, a lot of people talk about this fight, but I think today that Oliveira is really confident, and it proves it. He can finish this kind of guy. Oh yeah, you have some statistic like he say he never finish a wrestler. Oliveira never finished a wrestler, so maybe an opportunity for him. But I think I see Oliveira. Yeah,
Charles Oliveira. I think he gets it done. I just think he has more tools.
Oliveira.
Charles.
Man, I'm gonna be real with you. I could see Islam taking that one. He's a complete savage. He's a beast. I feel like Oliveira is the more well-rounded, more all-around that he could do. Man, he could take some punishment too. That's a really tough one, man. But I'm gonna have to go with the Russian on that one. You can't doubt a guy that does kind of the same thing to every single fighter, such as like Khabib. How he'll tie them up in the cage, and when someone's able to do that consistently to their opponents, no matter who it is, you gotta have a lot of faith in those guys, especially someone as hungry as he is, and trying to win that belt.
I'm going with Charles Oliveira. If he's down jiu-jitsu.
Man, Oliveira, I feel like reached a level, technically he's always been good, but like mentally now he's reached a different level, and I think that dude's just really hard to beat right now.
I love Charles Oliveira. I'm a diehard fan of his, and I think he's so good. He's so smooth. Like, I love watching his fights, and I feel like it makes me even better just watching it. He's just, how he transitions is so smooth. And Islam's a great opponent too, but I have a lot of faith in Charles. I think he's just gonna strike him, out grapple him. I mean, he might get taken down a couple times, but we've seen him be able to transition on the ground pretty effortlessly. So I think he should get the win that fight.
You know what? Because it's tough for me because it's more so like I'm coming from an emotional standpoint. Mm-hmm. I rock with Charles because he overcame a lot and he finally figured it out, and he's a freaking beast, and you can't take nothing from Islam either because he's a beast. So it's one of those things where I want Charles because I love his story and it's kind of motivating for me. And so if he can get that win over Islam, it's just gonna make it much sweeter. But hey, Islam's a beast too, so that's why I'm gonna have to say pass to that.
Charles Oliveira, uppercut, knockout, uppercut.
I think Islam's gonna do what he said. He's gonna test the waters the first round. He's gonna take him into deep waters the second. And then the third round, he's gonna drown him. I think Charles is a fucking super talented guy too. Daniel Santos, the guy I'm fighting, is actually from Charles's camp. So those guys are nothing but tough guys. I think that Islam's just on a different level. His wrestling, his jiu-jitsu, he's resilient, and he's just gotten better over the years. You know what I mean? I've always followed and been a big fan of Islam, and I've watched a lot of fights in his previous years where he's gotten in trouble, in chokes and stuff like that, and almost finished. But he's resilient, man. He's absolutely resilient. He has no quit in him, and I think that he's going to be sharp. He's going to show up for this fight, and he's going to take that belt.
Yeah, I think it's a 50-50 fight. I think people that don't think it's a 50-50, if they're going like 80-20 for Makhachev, I think it's a little bit foolish. Like you can't deny the product that Oliveira has been putting out lately. His volume is very pace breaking, like mentally breaking. Like he's in your face the entire time. And when you hit guys and you drop them 2-3 times and they still keep getting up and coming after you, I think it's a little bit discouraging for guys, especially guys that hit hard and usually get the finish. But it's going to be a little bit different now because Islam Makhachev, I don't really think he's like a knockout. He's not obviously a knockout artist. Does he have knockouts? I'm sure he does. I'm sure he has a few, but the guy's a dominant wrestler, grappler, ground and pound guy. So I don't know, man. I think it really is going to depend on that first round. And if Makhachev can keep him down on his back with relatively no submission threats, I think if he's able to do that, I think he'll be pretty successful. But I could see Oliveira TKOing him. So I either see Makhachev being able to... I think it's going to be a KO. I really don't think there's going to be any submissions. I think they're going to both be respectful of each other's ground game. So I don't know, man. It's interesting. I think if I'm a betting man, I'm going to go Oliveira, though. I think he's much more diverse. That me personally, if you're fighting somebody that's just he's not a plain wrestler, but if you're fighting a guy that's primarily one-dimensional and that's all you have to train for, I think you have a better chance. I think Oliveira's a submission artist. I think he's a knockout artist now, later in his career. What's this thing? Sorry, my phone was on. But I think he's a knockout artist now, and I think he's a submission artist. And at the same time, it's cardio's got a factor. So I don't know. I'm going with Oliveira. I think he's the bigger threat.
I think Charles have more talented fighter and more high-ranked fighter in his typology on his Sherdog. So I think Charles have a little advantage on this fight.
My God, Islam's huge. He's a big guy. I'm a fan of Charles Oliveira. I'm a fan of how his UFC kind of track has gone. He's never gave up. He went from a very bad run, which happens to a lot of us. And like I said, you can't take that away from anybody. It's a learning game. So he had a very bad run, and now he's figured out his steps. He figured out what he had to do, how he has to fight, corrected all of his stuff. And now that he's undefeated, he's going through. He's the champ now. Well, I guess not the champ, but the champ. He's still the champ. I want to say he takes the fight.
Charles does?
I think Charles will win.
Okay.
I think Charles has better grappling. Islam has better wrestling. But when it comes to wrestling, when a wrestler takes me down, I will always submit them. They only know wrestling. They can hold me in places, but the minute I get an inch of space, I'm going to submit you. I think that'll happen in the fight.
That's a very, very difficult. Charles Oliveira is amazing. But for some reason, 51% will go to Russian. Makhachev. I think that his athleticism with his solid, heavy top game, with his ground and pound, I think over time, he's gonna wear I think he'll be able to grind out the decision. I think just he's more of a physical specimen,
With Charles right there, I'm actually a fan of Charles. He's the champ. Let's not bullshit. He might not got the title, but he's the champ. All he had to do is grab the towel like DC. He'll still be the champ.
Do you have a coin? Man, I could flip a coin. I have no idea. I've been a big Islam fan for years, but very recently, Charles, man, he's really he's really inspiring, man. I really love his style. He's a true finisher. Man, I could see that fight going either way, man, to be honest with you. I'm not sure.
If you had to flip that coin, though, which way would it go, do you think? If you had to pick, if you had to put money on it, who are you going with?
Oliveira.
Islam's going to try to go for a takedown, but I think Oliveira takes it. I think Oliveira takes it because he fought so many other experienced fighters, and I don't think Islam fought those many types of dudes before. But Islam is, I'm not going to take anything away from him, but I see Oliveira taking it.
Oh, I hope Oliveira gonna win, but it looks like there's some tough. Again, that Russian guy, they didn't look like they are so amazing, so strong about the wrestling. And with Khabib on this corner, it's gonna be a hard one. I'm gonna go with Oliveira for that one.
Yeah, man, I like Oliveira. I think that Oliveira is gonna get it done. I mean, Islam's nasty, right? Islam's nasty, but so is Charles, and I feel like Charles still isn't getting the respect that he deserves. I mean, go ahead, take Charles down. I mean, he's a wizard on the ground. Stand up with Charles. Okay, you're gonna get kneed in the mouth. Like you have to pick a battle with him, and I don't really see Islam knocking out Charles on the feet. You could argue that he would maul him on the ground, but like, I mean, he's so fluid and loose on the ground. I think that it just being able to control. I think the Russian style wrestling that Islam has and Khabib has is controlling the hips, controlling the weight, and then grabbing wrists and things like that. But it's really hard to do that with a guy who's okay with being on their back. Like it's hard to hunt for wrist rides and triangling those legs and doing the what do they call it? The Dagestani wrist trap. It's hard to do those things against a guy who's like content with being, he's almost like inviting, like, sure, go ahead, get on top of me, like that's fine. So I think that like a lot of the things that Islam has been able to not get away with, but get away with in fights is not. I don't think it's going to be as much of an easy task against Oliveira as it has been in the past.